what lies at the heart of a true strong brand, one that's really distinct, is the way you lead, the way you serve, the way you deliver. So tell me more about that sales method, because it sounds like that's part of your differentiation in terms of what makes your way better than other options, right?
Thank you. You know, what I recognized early in my journey was that I took a bunch of sales programs and I took a bunch of pricing programs. And what I found, especially with the sales programs, is that they were typically developed by men for men.
Ooh.
And there were issues that were coming up for women that were not addressed, especially this issue of fear, fear of rejection, fear, sometimes fear of success, fear of conflict, that if I raise my prices, then I have to talk to people about that. And that feels like conflict to me. So much fear and anxiety around their pricing. So, and when we have fear and anxiety, we tend to avoid. Well, if you're avoiding your sales, then your company can't grow. And it's very likely that you only have an inbound effort, which means you're taking whoever comes to you instead of attracting the right buyers or going to find the right buyers. And I make a distinction between an ideal buyer and an ideal client. And I do that on purpose. And I wanted to mention that here because from a marketing standpoint, the marketing companies talk about your ideal client, defining who that is, and then going out and finding them. But I feel like that puts the cart before the horse, because an ideal client doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you find an ideal buyer, you take them on a journey, they're ready to buy. It's more like matchmaking. Mm-hmm. And in the onboarding process, you're laying out your expectations and they're talking about their expectations, and there's a meeting of the minds. So for example, if you don't take calls in the evening, but you have a client who, even though they know that, they feel as though their situations are always urgent and it's okay for them to call you in the evening. And if they are repeatedly doing that and you're repeatedly holding your boundaries, that is not an ideal client. Wow. And there's an opportunity there for you to kind of retrain them and help them understand you don't accept calls in the evening and you'll be happy to get back with them first thing in the morning. Yes. So the ideal buyer concept is a really important one, and that's part of what I teach. The program, I have two programs. One is called value-driven pricing. So that's to build your pricing model. And the other is called painless selling to ideal buyers. And the painless selling method is one that I've developed that is very focused on guiding your buyer. Of course, it's finding your buyers first and not assuming that everyone who comes to you is an ideal buyer. As women, we, you know, that old dating idea where when we're teenagers and we start dating, we think that everyone that's interested in us is the one, right? Quote unquote, the one. And if they're not the one, we can change them. We can turn them into the one. And we bring that into our businesses too. And we think any buyer who comes to us is the right buyer. And most of the time they're not. So that creates a whole new set of problems. So as you can tell, I'm a planner and I want to fix things on the front end instead of doing damage control once things are already in motion. So that's a big emphasis that I put on. Yes, it's mindset. Yes, we're going to help you shift that. But it's also the planning phase on your pricing and your sales so that your business runs smoother. It's less stressful. That's what I mean about generating more revenue with less stress, because we're taking some of those stressful situations that feel like conflict. We're going to take those away by planning ahead.